So I'd like to ask you, I've had the privilege of getting to meet you now a couple times, spending time with you, and I treasure this conversation. But when did you first meet us, and when did you first hear about us? And I don't really know the story.
So in 2014, Joey was trying to figure out the best way to raise Indiana. It was really just, what is the most natural path we could take? And so that led us to Mark and Linda Sherman, who are here in the community. She started buying essential oils from them, and we started getting to know each other. And they, in the community, and it's this, Carrie Grace, really up until recently, the only child with Down syndrome in your community, right? For 20 years.
Yeah.
And so when Indy was born, Carrie Grace was 10.
Okay.
And they came and visited us in, I think, October of 2014. So they came through. We have some pictures of Indiana on Carrie Grace's lap. Now Carrie Grace is 21, Indiana's 11. That's kind of how we got connected, is through Mark and Linda Sherman, and then through a whole other sequence of events. Howard Wheeler and Rhonda and Abby and their family found out about us and came to Nashville and visited, totally separately. And we met them, but it took a long, long time. We kept in touch. And then after Joey passed away, she passed away in 2016. I think in 18, Indiana and I finally made a trip here. And we had been hearing and reading, seen in magazines, articles, all different kinds of things. We wanted to come and just never had a chance. And so we came and visited and spent some time and met a number of folks here. And then we came back, spent some time. And at first, I just thought, well, that's different. I liked everybody, but I didn't feel anything necessarily. And then I started making some better friendships, and then Brian Branstad and his family moved to Montana, and we would spend a lot of time in the smaller communities in Montana. I started spending more time, and then again visiting here, visiting there. And over time, not only a deepening friendship began to grow, but the things that I had struggled with inside, which is there has to be more than more. There has to be a source of joy and happiness greater, and even an expression of faith and family and community better than what I was experiencing in the churches I was part of, in the community, and even all our family efforts. It just felt like it was all lacking something bigger. And so I started to realize, wow, what they've created there is incredible. And so that led me through, a couple of years ago, I knew that God was calling me on a deeper journey to surrender and repentance. And then so that was another year. And then I got baptized last July. It would be the third or fourth time I was baptized. I've been baptized a couple times, and it's not that they didn't take, they were just different.
Yeah.
But this time, what's been really interesting is I really understood that the old man was going to die and a new man was coming, and I was ready. I'd never really been ready, and I remember Howard talking to me that day, and he said, this might cost you everything. And that probably seems like a normal statement, but in all of my living and all of my church experiences, my faith had cost me nothing. Nothing. I mean, maybe there were some places I couldn't walk into, and some words I shouldn't say, and some movies I shouldn't watch, but ultimately no real cost. And when I was sitting at Matt's house and he said that day, I knew that this was different. And it could really cost me something, not just because I was becoming part of this church and this community, but because I was really giving God my heart, my soul, my whole life. And within a week, everything had kind of turned on its head. So what ended up happening is, through a number of events, my oldest daughter and a lot of different things, saying a bunch of really terrible things about the choices I was making and about the community that I'd become part of, even though no one had ever met anybody, no one had ever gone anywhere, nobody'd come to visit, still hasn't. And so I remember calling Howard and saying, you remember when you said that this might cost you everything? I said, did you know it might cost you everything too? Because you guys also have been drugged through so much. You've had that experience through the years, but you've got a new dragging through.
Yeah, it's different for us to have someone who is more known in the public eye, in the public sphere. And you certainly brought that with you. And I think that it just becomes more newsworthy in today's climate that this country singer or this songwriter, this man who has millions of followers on various places, hey, look what he's doing. And so we all get mixed in the grist of the public gossip mill.
What strikes me as strange is that, we've been church hoppers forever, and just trying to find the right expression would be what we would have said. It's like you're going to go to this church and you like the pastor, but you just don't, the music's not for you. And this one you like the music, but I don't know, it's too big, and this one's too far away. And it's embarrassing, but there's a lot of that happens. And so we've done that through the years. And what's strange is nobody cared. I could join any of them. I could join the biggest Baptist church in Nashville. Joey and I used to go a lot to World Outreach Church, which we just loved, a great big 15,000 people church. There's a little biker church down the road. There's a cowboy church down the road. We could join any church and no one would blink an eye. Whatever their theology is, whether they actually have any training in any of that. But for some reason, becoming part of a community and a culture and a church that wants to do more than be together on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings, that really want to live it out, which feels much more like a early New Testament church, that's somehow not allowed. This is unforgivable for me. Why is that? I don't understand that.
I think that modernity prides itself in being very open-minded, very supportive, very multicultural, and yet it's not. It's actually quite homogenous at least in some of the more basic things. And when somebody joins various churches, and yet they still stay in the mainstream of what's normal, everybody can relate to it. That's kind of the multiplicity of churches in America is kind of part of our multiculturalism. It's part of our pluralism. But when somebody makes a choice that is so radically different, they're kind of making an indictment on the whole culture. They're saying something is more fundamentally wrong. I think it's terrifying for people to think that maybe my culture is that bad that it needs to be reconsidered and rethought on the foundational level.
Yeah, which is really why I've made my way here, because in my opinion, it's that bad and it needs to be rethought completely.
This whole world full of experts is telling us that we have at last buried the old culture of America and of the church, and we've given place to a new culture of postmodern values and a new way of relating, a new way of working, a new way of living, of raising our children, of raising our food. And then we come crawling up from the graveyard of the culture they've rejected, and it's like, wait, we ended that argument. Get them back in their hole. And the easiest hole for them to smush us into is a category. It's a label. Yeah. And so they use that to engender fear.
Yeah. And I've, over time, and really getting to know, and I'm not a fool. I mean, I'm a thoughtful husband and father and man. I make lots of mistakes, but I've done my due diligence. I spent a lot of time, and I've seen the fruit. That's the thing that strikes me as amazing, is the reason that I'm here, the reason I'm part of all of this, and the reason I've worked my way to become part of something that I've never been part of before, is because I was in the world, the evangelical Christian world, and maybe it works for a lot of people, but for me, I didn't experience hardly any fruit. And here, the fruit is everywhere. It's everywhere. And that has caused me to say, look, that path's not working.
Yeah.
This path, is it perfect?
No.
Absolutely not. But the things that you are doing right are so extraordinary in this culture that we're all living in. It's like against all odds, love is thriving.
Yeah.
Against all odds, a sustainable culture and community is thriving. And what feels important to me is that there could be more of these, that people could start to rethink and go, I don't know if it's if it's like what they're doing, and that doesn't matter.
Right.
But that could be something more. And that's really the point, is perhaps we could encourage and inspire other people to get outside the box a little bit and reimagine what life could be for them and their families and their communities.
And we haven't arrived. I mean, we're on a journey, and we've learned every step of the way from others who were further along than we were. And we hope others can learn from us in some area that we may have advanced.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We want to be an inspiration to the body of Christ. Everybody who's calling on the Lord from a sincere heart and saying in the boxes of their normal, asking the question, is this good enough? Is this all there is? Is there more?
Mm-hmm.
And just to be able to give people the hope that there's more is a lot of purpose. It's wonderful all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to say, no, we're not perfect. Yes, we're still learning. Yes, we're still changing, but there is tangible fruit that you can witness.